got to figure out how to charge it, and that was a whole nother.
Oh, yeah, and then you got to make sure
Yeah.
that there's chargers available.
Right.
In some
Right.
places, there's a fucking line.
Yeah.
You got to wait an hour to get on that goddamn thing.
Right,
And,
and
then
we're
you got
gonna-
to sit in there for an hour.
And we're all going to drive electric vehicles when we don't have the capacity yet, right? I mean, come
Right.
on.
We
Yeah.
don't have the grid's
Yeah.
not ready for
No.
it yet.
No.
Not
No.
only that, the fucking source of the minerals is a horror story.
Yeah. I meant to tell you, there's a great story in which was it, Wall Street Journal today, and I love when they have stories like this because I'm thinking, no shit, Sherlock. It's about access for the defense industry to magnets, right? Rare earth magnets, which you need for everything: submarines, F-35s, whatever. Think about what you need it for. I mean, and magnets are also obviously for a variety of everything else, household appliances and shit. 92% of rare earth magnets are controlled by China right now, right? Materials and manufacturing. And so now the U.S. is suddenly realizing that they've got an issue because a while back, a handful of years ago, they put in place a law that will actually come into effect in 27 in a big way, which says, no magnets, from China where the materials or the processing or manufacture is in China. So we don't have the capacity.
Why can't we get them after 2027 from China?
Well, that's kind of when they said that's it, because we want to be in control of something this critical to a variety of things, right? And
Do we have the capability?
Well, yeah, I mean, we do. Look, rare earth, it's interesting. Rare earth minerals they're not called that because of their rareness, right? They're actually, you could argue critical minerals are more difficult to get your hands on. But it's the refining process that's kind of makes them difficult. And we can get them. We could have this capacity. We could have had the capacity for years and years and years. But it's the regulatory policies, right? So it's like the mining industry in the States is moribund, right? It's almost dead because, we've put in place so many regulations that say we can't do that. It's bad for the environment.
Right.
Well, you know what's worse for the environment is the way that they fucking mine these things overseas, right? Whether it's in China
Right.
or Africa or wherever else. And so we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot with this, but they're now starting to catch. Anyway, it's a good article, Wall Street Journal.
So if they're going to catch on, where do they get these? Is there a place where they can do it where they don't ruin everything?
There's another article I found right below. It's talking about Mountain Pass,
Yep.
which used to be a huge place. Said if it was oil, it would be considered Saudi Arabia.
Is that where the Donner Party died?
Yeah, maybe in between California and Nevada. It says right here.
Is that where they died?
I don't know.
World's number one source of rare earths.
Yeah.
Bro.
Started in a gold rush, and then production changed and things changed.
Is it still the number one source? Mountain Pass is arguably the best rare earth asset in the world. Whoa. If it
Yeah.
were oil, it would be Saudi Arabia. Well, let's start digging, bitches.
Yeah.
He was talking about the refining of it, and that's what I think this article starts talking about.
Yeah.
So we don't have the refineries.
Yeah, we need to,
available?
and so they're starting to put money into, whether it's us or the Australians or the Germans or whomever. They're starting to, realize. But good news is they've figured this out. But while we were paying attention to whatever we were focused on, China was dominating, above 90%, and knowing, right, strategically thinking ahead years ago, thinking what's going to be important, right? And so they did, and they don't, they're not playing the same game in terms of regulations and environmental concerns and practices, and that's a good thing. We should have environmental concerns. I'm not saying that.
No,
but
we
I'm just
certainly
saying,
should, but
yeah.
China's not having these concerns.
No, they don't have it.
One of the
Bullshit,
wildest things that, these social media bots, who knows what countries are using these, but there's a lot of them that are being run by foreign countries. And they'll a lot of times be real inflammatory about climate change. And if they're funded by China, while China is building coal plants all the time, don't they have hundreds of new coal plants that they're building?
Yeah, opening up, I forget what it was, 2 a week or so, new coal plants. Yeah, and the EPA just crushed the coal industry here over the past week and a half or so with some new regulations that are going forward in terms of what you have to reduce your emissions by.
Nuclear? Isn't that the solution?
I would say that the solution is all of the above, right? It's everything, right? And you got to, and yes, eventually work towards something that makes sense on the green energy front. But yeah, nuclear is certainly a big part of it. But we get in this
That scares the
mindset,
shit out of
it's
people.
like everything else. We get one. It's got to be all this or it's got to be all that. It's like the way that we have arguments. But yeah, you're right. The people should look at if you have an environmental activist group, right? And a lot of times they'll want to shut down a mining operation here in the States, right? And it looks like it's a grassroots, it's like the campus protest. It looks like it's a grassroots thing. Oh, it's just a neighborhood organization that's against this idea.
Right.
You got to dig into it a little bit. And then next thing you know, you find that there's outside elements involved because it's in their best interests. And China's figured this out. We've talked about this before. They figured out that the way to impact the U.S. for their own good was to impact local and state regulations and regulatory policies towards things like mining, right? Because it helps them in their cause to dominate the industry or to dominate whatever that market is that we're talking about. So, again, it's just a matter of peel back the layers, pay attention, think about what you're doing. This article talks